Bright QT. Every student matters.
Hello children, welcome to the session. In this session children, we are going to start with the chapter light, shadows and reflection. So children, we are going to study this chapter in parts. First we are going to study about light, then we are going to figure out what are shadows, and finally we will conclude our lesson by discussing about mirror and reflection. So children, today we are going to start with a brief introduction about light. So children, look around yourself, look around your table, chair, pencil box, your classroom. You are able to see different things, you are able to see different colors. But if I ask you to now observe all the things at night without switching on any light, would you be able to see anything? And I am sure you won't be able to see anything. Why children? Because you can simply reply, ma'am, because now there is no light. So children, light helps us to see objects. And how do we see objects with the help of light? This we are going to discuss further in this chapter. Okay children, for now you have to understand that each and everything that we are able to see around ourselves is because of light. If light is not there, we will not be able to see anything around us, right children? And also children, if I ask you what is the main source of light, what is the main source of light? So I am sure what comes to your mind may be sun, right? And at night you may think about moon, which gives us light at the night time. But children, we have an interesting fact over here that sun has its own light and sun is actually a star. Whereas children, moon does not have its own light and it reflects the light which it receives from sun. Okay children, no need to worry right now. We are just giving the brief introduction. We are going to discuss each and everything in detail. Okay, so let's now move ahead. So children, what are the different sources of light that you can observe around yourself? So children, we discussed that the main source of light that you can observe is the sun, and you can observe the stars. So children, actually sun is also a star, but since sun is the nearest star which is present to sun is the nearest star to the surface of earth, right? That is why we are able to see the sun as so large and so bright, right children? Whereas the other stars that we are able to observe at the night time are far away from the surface of earth, and that is why we are able to see them as point-sized objects, right children? And also these stars are twinkling. You can always observe the stars twinkling. Okay, so let us now move ahead. What are the other sources of light? You can say, ma'am, a bulb can be a source of light. A bulb can be a source of light, and which is true. Then you can also say a candle is a source of light, lamp is a source of light. All these answers are correct children. Actually, we have two different sources of light. One is the natural source of light, whereas the other one is the artificial source of light. Artificial. So the natural source of light may be sun, moon, stars, and all these are the natural sources of light, whereas the artificial sources of light may include bulb, candle, etc. Okay children, so let us now move ahead. So children, how can we define a source of light? So children, we can define a source of light as any object that emits light is known as source of light. So children, any object which is seen emitting light can be called as the source of light. And source of light can be anything like sun, moon, electric bulb or electric tube. All these are the sources of light. Further, we are going to discuss about the classification of these sources of light, which are natural sources of light and artificial sources of light, as we have discussed. Natural sources of light, what are the examples? See children, what is the most important thing in science is you don't need to cram anything. When I say natural sources of light, you don't need to cram or open your books. Just look around yourself and figure out what are the sources which are naturally occurring and can emit light. And I'm sure you will be able to answer it on your own, that sun, moon, stars. And there is one more example children, which is light worm. You have seen light worm. light worm is, children, jugnu. Light worms also emit their own light, so they are also natural sources of light. Whereas children, when I say artificial sources of light, so these sources will be the man-made sources, which are electric tube light, an electric bulb, torch, etc., which are man-made and they can emit light, are known as artificial sources of light. So let us move ahead. Now children, we have to discuss two another classifications of sources of light, which are luminous objects and non-luminous objects. So children, as you know that we have discussed about sun and moon, and we were discussing that sun has its own light, whereas moon does not have its own light. Instead, it reflects the light which it receives from sun. Right children? So children, those objects which have the light of their own are called as luminous objects. Again children, no need to cram anything, you just understand the concept. What are luminous objects? Luminous objects are the objects which have the light of their own. And what are the examples of these? These can be sun, then stars, right children, then light worms, then electric bulbs, tube lights. All these have the light of their own, so they are luminous objects, irrespective of the fact whether they are natural or artificial sources, right children? Then we have non-luminous sources of light. These are the light sources which do not have the light of their own, and they just reflect the light which they receive, like moon as well as the other planets children. You can observe the planets also in sky at night time. But the difference between the normal stars and the planets is that stars twinkle but planets do not twinkle. But again, planets do not have their own light, they just reflect the light which they receive from the sun. Okay children? So these were the sources of light. Now children, we have an interesting question for you. Suppose you have a non-luminous body. Suppose you have a non-luminous body. How can you make it luminous? Or how or we can put it in this way, how can non-luminous bodies be made luminous? So children, if we start heating non-luminous objects, say we have an iron wire and we start heating it, and once the temperature reaches 600 to 800 degrees Celsius, it will become so hot that it will start glowing, right children? And this is the way in which we have converted this non-luminous iron piece into luminous glowing object. Okay children? So this was it. We have one more interesting fact. Why are the moon and the planets considered non-luminous bodies? Children, we have already discussed this. The simple reason that they do not produce the light of their own. Instead, what they do, they reflect the light which they receive from the sun, and therefore children, we call them as non-luminous bodies. Okay? So children, in this session we are going to discuss about what are these three types of objects, and we are going to discover it with the help of an activity. So let us quickly begin with the activity. Look around you and collect as many objects as you can: an eraser, plastic scale, pen, pencil, notebook, whatever, all the objects that you need to find, and you want to classify them as transparent, translucent and opaque objects. So children, you have to collect all of these, and now you have to try to look at something far away through each of the object. Like you will, suppose you have a piece of paper, you will hold it like this and you will try to look through it. Okay children? And you will make the observation and you will record this observation in a table. So children, before beginning with the observation part, I would like to tell you that transparent objects are see-through. That is, we are able to see through them. For example, a cellophane sheet, or a clear plastic paper, or a clear poly bag, which is made up of plastic, right children? You are able to see through it. That means it is a transparent object. Then children, we have translucent objects which are partially see-through. That is, you are able to see through them partially, right children? And what can be example of it? The best example for translucent object is tracing paper, right? If you hold a tracing paper and try to look through it, you will be able to see the objects through it, but only partially, not clearly. Then children, we have opaque objects, and opaque objects are the one through which you are not able to see anything at all. Okay children, there is no visibility at all. For example, a wooden piece. Can you look through a table which has a wooden cupboard? Can you see through it what all objects are lying there? No, you won't be able to see them. So children, opaque objects are the objects through which you are not able to see anything. So children, if you haven't understood it yet, so no need to worry. We are going to discuss all the three in detail and also with the help of this activity.
An object that allows most light to pass through is called transparent, like a clear glass. An object that allows some light to pass through is called translucent, like a wax paper. An object that blocks the light from passing through is called opaque, like a cardboard. One can see clearly through transparent objects. One can see through translucent objects, but not very clearly. One cannot see through opaque objects. Transparent objects do not cast shadows because they do not block light. Translucent objects cast faint shadows as they block light partially. Opaque objects cast dark shadows as they block light completely.
Let us move. As we can see, this glass window we have. So glass is another material which is transparent. You can observe that this glass window is see-through. We are able to see the sky through this window, right? So this object is a transparent object. Then we have this oiled paper, and as you can see, you can partially see through it. So this is a translucent paper. Then we have this metal sheet, and children, this is an opaque object. Why? Because we are not able to see through it. Okay children, so these were a few examples. So let's move to the observation part. So children, what we are going to do is we will make a table. In the first column, you will write the name of the object or material that you are testing or that you are using to look through it. Okay, then in the second column, you will write whether you were able to see through it fully or partially, or you were not at all, or you were not able to see through it. Okay, and in finally the third column, you will classify those objects as opaque, transparent or translucent. For example, a pencil, and you cannot see through it, so you will write no, we are not at all, we cannot see anything at all. Then these type of objects are known as opaque objects, right children? And in the similar way, you will write about all the objects that you have used, and it will be a really fun activity, right children? So let's move ahead and observe this property of transparent, translucent and opaque through this beautiful diagram. So children, as you can see at the back of the paper, it's written, can you see me? And then we have three circles, first, second and third. So children, let us observe and start with the first circle. So children, can you see the word can behind this first circle? So you are not able to see the part which is hidden behind this circle, right children? So that means the first circle is that means through the first circle you are not able to see anything, not at all, nothing is visible. So these type of objects are called as opaque objects. So children, if you are ever confused, just think about this diagram and think about the first circle through which you are not able to see anything at all, right children? And we call such objects as opaque objects. Now we will move to the second circle that we have, and as you can see, what is written behind this circle? You see, and you are able to see this not clearly but partially. So such type of objects are called as translucent objects. Then finally the third circle, what's written behind it? Me. And are you able to see it clearly? Yes, you are completely and clearly able to see it. So such type of objects will be known as transparent objects. Okay children? And let us see how we can define the three types of objects. So first start with the transparent objects. So children, the materials through which the things can be seen are called as transparent objects. And what are the examples of it? Pure water, air and glass. So children, we have observed the glass window, we were able to see through it. Then air, as you know, air is present everywhere, it's there in your room too, and still you are able to see other person and objects. This proves that air is a transparent material. Then children, we have pure water. Again, when you have a glass of water, you have clean pure water in it, you are able to see the see inside the glass, and you will be able to see the bottom of the glass, right, clearly. And this proves that the pure water is again a transparent material, right children? Right? Let's move ahead. Now we have opaque objects. What are opaque objects? These are the objects through which we cannot see clearly, through which things cannot be seen clearly. And children, examples are metals, cement, wood and charcoal. These are the examples of opaque objects. Now see children, these type of questions can be asked as a 2-marker question, where you will have to write the definition of these and you have to write 3 or 4 examples. And the greatest part is you don't need to cram anything, you just need to understand the concept and just reciprocate it in your answer sheets and you'll get full marks. So just understand what are transparent, translucent and opaque objects and try to observe the examples from the surroundings. Okay children? So let's move to the last type of objects, which are translucent objects. So materials through which things can be partially seen, the things can be seen but partially, are called as translucent materials. It means translucent materials allows light to pass through it partially. Okay children, what are the examples of it? A smoked glass, fog, mist, clouds, oiled paper, tissue paper, and one more we have here, tracing paper, right children? So these were the examples of translucent material. Okay children, that's it guys. These were the these are the topics that we had to cover in this session.